Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Ricky with Learn Plan Profit. Hope that you guys are all having a good start to your morning, or not your morning. Today's April 20th, Sunday, 7:10 p.m., and it's time to go live. So I wanted to go live very quickly and pretty much just talk about where the overall market's at for the week. We could see during overnight hours, we're down about 0.42%. If we look at the S&P 500, it's down about 0.5%. So not much in the red, but about 0.5%. Looks like we're gapping down once again, continuing that selling pressure. There, to my understanding, has not been any developments when it comes down to China and the U.S. and any form of negotiation or progress, right, by any means. So does this mean that we have to fully sell off back down to previous lows of 480? No, not necessarily. It's not like things are getting significantly worse, right? But things are technically not getting better. So, you can't expect markets to recover. So with that being said, markets are still oversold on the larger time frame. So I think it's important to talk about, what companies might be worth trading and what's the intention behind them, and then what companies might be worth investing in long term. I want to remind you the different stocks that we talk about within this video are in no way any stock suggestion, right? I'm just going to be breaking down a series of stocks that I see value in, and then also giving my 2 cents on the stocks that our group members see value in, and just breaking them down within this live session. So I hope that you can kind of sit back, relax, enjoy. If you have any questions, feel free to partake in that live chat. Would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. All you literally need to do is subscribe to the channel, and then you can partake in that live chat. If you want to watch me trade live as soon as tomorrow, friendly reminder, I do trade live every morning, and whenever it is that you feel like you are ready, if you want to tune on in, it's the second link in the description down below. You could sign up. It breaks down to as little as $1.35 per day. So if you're really wanting to learn more about the market, getting invested, learning how to trade, then we kind of have it laid all out for you, right? It's still going to be challenging, still going to be difficult in this market full of chaos. But if you're someone that learns best by structure, then I do believe that the lesson library and the live trading sessions can be of value, especially if you're a complete beginner. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So Trump dropped that he owns the gold. What? The gold makes rule related tough stance. Deficit leveling through equities likely to trade bearish, it appears. Things are still trading bearish. So I'll have to look into exactly what it is that you are saying, because it looks like, Trump dropped that he who owns gold makes the rules, quote, related tough stance and tariffs and deficit leveling following through. Sure, to some degree, right? Gold is rising as there's uncertainty in the market, and the dollar drops anytime we see that correlation. Gold rises, dollar drops. We've seen that correlation for quite some time. It's obviously not that we're backed by gold technically anymore, but there's still that form of correlation, right? Markets drop or dollar drops, gold rises. So that's something that we're well aware of, right? Let's go ahead. I want to keep today pretty simple. I want to kind of keep this live stream pretty short and sweet, right? Markets are still dropping. And a very, very good question that I still want to make sure our beginners are asking themselves. We started presenting it last week. I think it's really important to ask yourself anytime you hear about any news, any form of catalyst, good or bad, it doesn't matter. Ask yourself a very simple question. Is this temporary? The reason I encourage you to ask you that is, we might see a lot of volatility as things continue to develop, hopefully solutions for the market. I'm going to be very open with you. Selfishly, I want markets to continue to drop, not because I want to short the market. I'll short the market as they drop, but that's not the point. I want markets to drop more because I want better deals, right? I'm completely okay with sharing that. I've been very open about that. I've no shame in sharing that. As markets drop more, there's more deals that are going to present themselves. And the only people that freak out during market pullbacks are those that did not prepare, those that don't have any cash to buy the dip on. I'm very excited to be able to buy and invest into companies that I see to be good companies and invest long term. I have no intention of making money with those companies anytime soon. I just want to get invested at a good price. With that being said, I don't really care too much to talk about the companies I'm paying attention to. I just know that as markets do continue to drop, a very simple thing, right? Just because a few beginners might be watching this video, as markets drop, if you're not a big fan of shorting, I completely respect that. You should not short, especially because it does come at a greater form of risk, especially if you're just getting started. But let's say that you're trying to hedge your position as markets drop. How can you make money in the short term? These are day trades. These are not swing trades. Well, as markets drop, so let's say that QQQ and SPY continue to develop or show progress on the downside, SQQQ goes up when markets go down. Let me make this very clear. SQQQ is not an investment vehicle. It's not a ETF that you want to hold over a long period of time because it's triple leverage. It rebalances every single day and it can be very, very risky. Let me give you an example. If markets do begin to recover, SQQQ will most likely continue to sell off and go back down to 25, sub 25. Why would you not want that? Well, why would you ever want to hold a position that can lose nearly 50% of its value, right? Just doesn't make sense. So again, there's nothing wrong with trading a stock if you understand the purpose behind it. So very simple. If markets continue to drop, an option that you can explore to trade is SQQQ. But there's a lot of ETFs that are inverse ETFs. SPXS, if I'm not mistaken, that is the triple leverage bear ETF that follows the S&P 500. This also goes up when the S&P 500 goes down. There's also one for the Dow Jones. I believe it's SDOW, and that's a short ETF. Also goes up when Dow markets go down. I just think it's important to understand that. I'm never here to encourage you to trade it. I promise you, it does me no good for you to trade it. I don't care. I just want you to be aware of, right? What goes up when markets go down? And if you don't want to short, what can you trade? Very simple. These, right? They go up when markets go down. It's important. It's useful for those that care for it, but they're all in the short term. Markets are so oversold now that a lot of people aren't entertaining the idea of just buying into the dip. I think that you should still do it in a very calculated way. I don't think that you should just buy the dip blindly with every dollar amount or every dollar you have in your account. I don't think that you should buy the dip with leverage because then you can get margin called if markets continue to drop. But I do think that if you can tolerate the time that it might take for markets to recover, I do believe buying the dip, just like I plan to, hopefully can pay off in the near future, right? It's not something where I would expect to make money anytime soon. It's not going to make you generational wealth. So many people like to use that phrase now. It's like, oh, right now by being invested, it's a generational, what is it that they say? I don't know. I see it all over TikTok and on Twitter and stuff. And it's very simple. Buy when markets are fearful, sell when markets are greedy, right? Just like we talked about in late 2024, I thought markets were overbought. They were overvalued for no reason. There was no deals, right? Now there's a lot more deals. I mean, you can close your eyes and throw a dart at any big tech company, and most of them are deals. Not that you should do that, but I wanted to take some time. And now that I talked about those inverse ETFs, how about I just break down your guys' top stock? Does that sound like a plan? So Trump says that he has a replacement for Powell in mind, which is crazy. And a lot of you guys know this. I voted for Trump. I'm a fan of the tariffs in the sense that I knew that they were going to cause short-term pain. I hope that it's for long-term gain. I can't predict the future, so you guys know that, I do like this downturn because it lets me invest into the market more heavily. So I'm very excited about that. I don't care to support him in everything it is that he does. Just like you might have a really good friend or someone that you support. If he does something dumb, you want to call him out on his bullshit, right? And excuse my language, especially on Easter Sunday. But Trump has a big mouth. He is very outspoken. He says complete BS that makes no sense. It's just like a waste of energy, and like it's almost just to irritate people. People call it the art of the deal, or what is it that they? It's just complete BS. He has followers that will support him in everything it is that he does, yet what he's doing is either not right or just completely outlandish. Nonetheless, I do believe Trump is super outspoken. He is frustrating to take seriously sometimes, but I continue to ask myself one simple question. Why would he be doing any of this if it wasn't for the American people? Like, who benefits from these tariffs? It's not billionaires. It's not his friends, right? Because markets are dropping. They're the ones that lose the most amounts of money. So at the end of the day, again, it might be naive of me, but nonetheless, I would imagine that he has the best interest of the American people. I hope that it's the short-term pain for long-term gain. Unfortunately, again, I don't have to agree with his character and what he says every moment of the day. But yeah, he says bullshit like that all the time. And he has no control over the Federal Reserve. There's no reason to pretend. People like to, when I talk about, like, I've never seen anyone like have such a cult-like following where if I say anything that isn't in support of him, it's like it's just people will turn against me that, oh my God, I can't believe, Ricky, you're a liberal. I was like, dude, if you know anything about me, you know definitely I'm not a liberal. Nonetheless, I'm human. I'm an individual. I don't have to agree with what another person does 100% of the time, right? I'm my own person. It's just my opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion, just like someone's entitled to theirs. Nonetheless, I like being an individual, thinking for myself, right? If I don't agree with someone, I can call it out for what it is. And he just says things that make complete like it's complete nonsense. And it's okay to acknowledge that, right? I've seen a lot of Republicans just not be able to tolerate his character because of how outlandish he is. It's okay. It's okay to talk about those things, right? The thing that I do want to make sure that you're aware is that when I hear people comment of, okay, well, he can get Congress to abolish the Federal Reserve, and by doing so, then he can get rid of Jerome Powell. Ricky, okay, well, also a comet can hit Earth and then none of us can be here. It's like, why are you coming up with like the most Hail Mary type of it's never going to happen scenario and try to justify it as it's going to happen next week? It's like, dude, just call it for what it is. It's bullshit. It's okay. Like that's all it is. Then it's okay to acknowledge that, right? It's insane to me that people's political view becomes their personality. It's like, let's be okay with being our own self. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. I'm excited to see what this market has to offer. I hope to see more downturn. Selfishly, I would like to see more downturn. I want to see if we can get a little bit closer to 400 once again for NASDAQ, just so I can load up a little bit more on my long-term plays. But I want that selfishly. I do not know if that's going to happen. I can't predict the future, obviously, when it comes down to the Federal Reserve and what they're expected to do. There is no rate cut in sight for the month of May. There's still only a 7.5% probability according to the Fed rate monitor tool. And again, this is something that you guys all have access to. And this is about 2 weeks and 2 days away. So I just want to make sure that you are aware of that. As things continue to develop when it comes down to our trade war, I'll make sure that I do my part in keeping you guys up to date. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. But Kamala was so bad for us. I did not care to entertain Kamala. And again, that's my opinion and my right as an American, right? I get to vote for who it is that meets my needs more than the other candidate. And as outlandish Trump is and has always been, that is correct. I would rather have him than Kamala. I couldn't tolerate her. That's okay. We don't have to see eye to eye, right? That's why you get to vote and I get to vote, and the winner won. It's okay. No one, let's be honest, neither option was a good one. Let's break down Google. All right. So Google, continuous descending pattern, testing previous lows. This is the thing that's really going to excite me is that, yep, and it's this week. Google reports earnings this week. Are you aware of that? Are you aware of that? Are we going to be live streaming these series of earning reports? Do you guys know Tesla reports earnings this week? I think Tesla reports earnings on Tuesday, right? I'm pretty certain. This is going to be an exciting week. I think that we will be adding another layer of either certainty or uncertainty. So if that's the case, Google's set to report earnings this week. It looks like they're going to be reporting on Thursday, and I think Google's going to be setting the tone. Well, I'm not going to pretend. I can't predict the future, right? I have no idea of is it going to meet or come below market's expectation. I just know that, again, a lot of guidance is dropping based off of these tariffs for 2025 and possibly 2026. But a lot of these might be in the short term. Who knows? Who knows 2 to 4 months from now, what if these tariffs are no longer a thing or not as a polarizing issue, right? Something to pay attention to. So as of right now, we are at a previous low. Do I think that Google, let me be very open about this. Google is oversold enough that I would consider investing in it. Does that mean that I'm going to go all in? No, but I think it's a good enough deal where I could entertain buying it to go long. Google's oversold enough that I probably wouldn't care to short it anymore. Let me explain. Even if Google does report worse than expected earnings, and let's say Google drops 10, 11%, that's pretty bad, right? Cool. It drops another 10%. But if Google begins to recover based off previous highs, there's a lot more potential for recovery. So to my LPP team, it's all about risk to reward. My risk of this thing to recover is much greater than my potential reward of this thing possibly selling off and trying to short it on the downside. So again, it's simply oversold enough that I wouldn't care to carry a position shorting it overnight any longer. It can continue to sell off. That's not the question. That's not the concern. Markets can continue to drop. It's just it's oversold enough that the potential for recovery is just simply greater than the potential for loss, in my opinion. But I'm very excited to see. I hope that it misses earnings. I hope that it comes in lower because I would love to invest in Google when more fear is being injected selfishly. That's what I'm telling you. I don't even care to short it. I just would rather care to buy it at a cheaper level. Make sense? You don't like the mustache? I know. It's a hit or miss for some people. Do you own Google shares already? I did. I did in late 2024. I liquidated all of my positions late 2024. Actually, right around when Trump was viewed as the president-elect. So I often sell early. I often buy early. But I do it with a position size and a dollar amount that makes sense. But again, just because I do that doesn't mean that you need to. Yeah, I like the mustache. And if I like it, then I'm keeping it. I promise you, right? All right, let's go ahead and break down a few more. So again, if you want me to break down your stock, just feel free to share it in the live chat. You do have to be subscribed to the channel, so just a heads up on that. Can you talk about Amazon? What's going on, Angel? I appreciate you tuning on into the live stream. Happy Easter, brother. And this is where it gets really boring. Because it's the same thing over and over again. What do you guys think I'm going to say about Amazon? I would love to invest in Amazon. I think it's more oversold than it is overbought. Even if it does go lower, I think it's a fair enough deal where the potential for profit, if it recovers, is greater than the potential for loss, as long as I can tolerate the time that it might take for it to recover. I don't think it makes much sense long-term to short Tesla at this level because of the recovery potential. So a lot of these Magnificent Seven stocks are going to have a very similar setup to me. It's going to be like when markets were at all-time highs and people were asking, hey, what's a good deal? It's like, well, nothing was, right? It's almost now the opposite. Markets have pulled back enough that it's like, okay, hey, what's a good deal? Well, kind of almost everything is, but it's not like you should just do it blindly and do it with every dollar. It's manage that position size, right? You shouldn't be scared to be invested, but to understand that more downside is possible. So Amazon is definitely one of those companies that I'm paying attention to. It does not report earnings this week, but I think that as we see the rest of big tech report earnings, it will then begin to project guidance and expectations of what to maybe change or adjust as Amazon is set to report earnings. I'm very excited because, again, I think this can be kind of like the trigger for the market to either begin to recover or continue to sell off much more aggressively if the fundamentals are not supporting the markets to recover by any means. Hey, I like that. So Henry's asking about TGT. I like how he's switching it up, not focused on tech, focused more on retail. TGT, kind of the go woke, go broke idea, became very oversold. The thing that I do want to share is that TGT has just not been performing well. I would say that because of how oversold it's become, I could entertain it, but you just have to know that this thing's been selling off for 4 years, right? Late 2021, we peaked. We've been making lower highs and lower lows. So again, be aware of that because you cannot just expect just because you buy it that it needs to start to recover. What if it does continue to downtrend? Remember, buy with a dollar amount in which you can tolerate. If the price action and overall pattern and direction is bearish, just because you buy doesn't change anything. So please make sure that you're aware of that. I do see that it was because it's cheap. Okay, cool. It could possibly recover, but it's been cheap before. It's been cheap before. It's sold off before, and it still continues to downtrend. Now, this one's maybe not going to be, it doesn't offer the same potential, but a company that's just a little bit more well-ran, it's Walmart. It's very boring, but it's very consistent. Very bullish over a long period of time, and so is Costco. A lot of people, again, while markets are not maybe doing the best, Walmart and Costco are doing just fine. It's very interesting, right? Because you don't ever hear many people talk about Walmart or Costco because they're kind of boring companies to invest in. But remember, I mean, I can't speak for all of you, but sometimes it's okay to invest in boring companies because if they're consistent and they show results, especially when markets as a whole are not, it's good to be green and it's good to make money, especially when they're still profitable, even as overall markets are downturning. And that's the part that I find to be pretty exciting. So I like that. We got Meet My saying, I love Walmart. Yeah. PLTR is what Chris is asking. I like that you brought that up because I've considered wanting to invest in PLTR, but something about it just like yells and screams bubble to me. It is a well-run company. They do have enough cash in their balance sheet that they can, they were doing incredibly well right before the downturn. And the only reason that it really began to downturn was because, the tariffs, the trade war began. So was it the company's fault? No, it was the overall market and the negative impacts that it had in this individual stock. The more overvalued a company might be during a downturn, the more of the overreaction it can present. So I'm not surprised by that. My thing is like PLTR is, I don't know enough about it. I need to inform myself a little bit more based off of the fundamentals that I am aware of. It does look like it's a well-run company. It does look like they have great projections for 2025 and 2026. At least they did. But with these changes that are happening in the government, a lot of their contracts were government-based. I just want to see how it continues to trade. I want to see if it's still the shiny toy that Wall Street loves, because that's what it was. It was incredibly bullish over a period of time, and it literally looked unstoppable. It wasn't until recently that it kind of began to struggle, but the only factor that changed was markets began to downturn. So yeah, I just because I might not be comfortable investing shouldn't mean anything to you. We all have different risk tolerance, and if you're younger and maybe you want to be more aggressive, then be my guest. I would encourage you to look into it, not just on the technicals, but also on the fundamentals, and just inform yourself. Don't sell yourself that you need to invest in this company, but maybe why? Why is this one a good pick? definitely something that I would entertain or encourage you to look into, because I would love to learn more about it. So if you learn more about it on why you think it's a good investment, share it with me. And maybe if I learn enough about it where I do want to invest in it, then maybe I can also film a video on it and share what I've learned to everyone that follows me. So I'm all about that, right? That's the great thing about our LPP team, is we're always sharing ideas with one another. A lot of the ideas that I share within my YouTube videos are a lot of the ideas that people are sharing with me, right? Again, I have a platform, and I'm always happy to share the different things that I'm learning more about. And I hope that you guys can see that for what it is. So thoughts on SoFi? What's going on? Is that Jordan? SoFi hasn't been doing good, has it? All right, pretty decent downturn. Okay. On the technicals, doesn't look terrible, right? A really nice downturn. It looks oversold like most of the market. There is no indication of this thing recovering just yet. Yep, about 67% potential recovery. Let's look at this on the 4-hour. Yeah, consistent lower highs, lower lows. There's no break of pattern of this thing showing signs of a reversal just yet, but I can see why you're paying attention to it. Maybe it just needs the market to recover. If we look at when it began to sell off, same thing. February 20th, we could see that that's when markets began to downturn, and that was when the trade wars really began. So yeah, if that's the only negative catalyst, then really what we're looking for is, hey, once and if this trade war begins to solve itself, if the U.S. can negotiate with China, if solutions begin to present themselves and the trade war is no longer a polarizing issue, then yeah, why wouldn't markets, if they're not getting worse, markets love to get ahead of themselves, why wouldn't they get better? And we can't really expect it in the month of May, according to the Fed Rate Monitor tool. But the only other issue as of right now that I would pay attention to is, of course, interest rate cuts. A big focus on the Federal Reserve. Trade war, Federal Reserve, and of course, as we approach it, earnings season. Different companies reporting different earnings that might just cause big shifts based off of if they exceed or come in below market expectation. Make sense? All right, we got Alexis with Nike. Let's go ahead and break that one down. So Nike's a tough one. So I was speaking to a financial advisor about different companies to be investing in. And Nike's one of those companies that, like, I kind of ask myself, well, this thing can't go anywhere, right? It's like a household name. Like, why wouldn't I want to invest in Nike long term? But dude, it's struggling. So very simple, be greedy when others are fearful, maybe, right? But their guidance doesn't look good for 2025 on the fundamental side. Their sales don't look good for projections of 2026. And with all the issues that are happening overseas and the trade war, where are Nikes made? Okay, so are these tariffs going to have a positive or negative impact if they remain? How does that translate over to net margins and bottom dollar or bottom line profit for Nike? Something to take into consideration, right? So when thinking about companies to invest either for myself or for my daughter, Nike has definitely been one of those companies. I just haven't been able to pull the trigger because of how tough Nike has been doing fundamentally. I do think because of how cheap it is, it's a good stock to watch. I am just not convinced myself that I'm ready to invest in it. And if I were, I would be very, very mindful of the position size. I hope that makes sense. So I appreciate you asking. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Ricky, you come across as a lib. If that's what I come across, then yeah, I can't control what you view me as, right? But I can tell you, my life before, my life after, not influence. All right, MSTR. I like that, Basim. I appreciate you asking. Why not break down MSTR? MSTR is actually one of the few stocks right now that is in the green. So there is news. I would consider shorting MSTR if I could, but you can't short overnight. Anytime that it pushes up or becomes overbought or overvalued, I would always entertain shorting it. So MSTR is kind of going through a rut. This is 100% my opinion. Please do not trade this. I don't care for you to trade it, okay? MSTR has a really strong resistance and has had a really strong resistance right around 340. And that's because, and And that's because Bitcoin has been struggling to trade above 90,000. Now, there's speculation that, again, Trump is going to try to remove the Jerome Powell. And by removing him and replacing him, then maybe he can get someone to start cutting interest rates in favor for the market. And of course, if they start cutting interest rates, people will be able to borrow money at cheaper rates, giving the markets a better condition and better environment to thrive. Yes, technically, crypto can obviously do better when markets and economies are thriving. That's not rocket science. As of right now, it's all speculation. Trump can't do anything about the Federal Reserve. He cannot remove Jerome Powell. He can say whatever it is that he wants. He has no power to remove Jerome Powell. In my opinion, based off of how it's looking like and how markets are reacting, MSTR, just like it has in the past before, like Bitcoin, is going to get rejected at 90,000, and MSTR will get rejected at $340, $350 per share, and then return back to lows of 240, 250. I think MSTR is more overbought than it is oversold, and this is where I would consider opening a short position and then making money into the downside. I think based off previous patterns, again, it just continues to get rejected and then sells off. Every time that it comes and retests, gets rejected, sells off. Retest, rejected, sells off. Retest, again, just my opinion, it's retesting. I think it's going to get rejected and then sell right back off to 250, 240 per share. So I'm excited to check it out. But again, if you want to buy MSTR, be my guest. I promise you. I'm never here to convince you. No. Like, at the end of the day, you guys are adults. You guys can do whatever it is that you guys want. Obviously, I'm here to share my opinion on what I think I would do and wouldn't do. If you've ever watched any of my content before, you know that my content is always designed for beginners. Anytime markets or anything is overbought and overvalued, I never am afraid to voice my opinion. I've done it when markets were thriving, markets were overbought, and I said, hey, I think markets are overvalued. I would be very careful buying aggressively at these levels. People and comments obviously would go after me. They're like, how can you say this? Markets are thriving. We're going to continue to make new highs. And it's, again, a very simple concept. Be greedy when others are fearful. Be fearful when others are greedy. And again, fast forward 4 to 5 months, markets retraced 20 to 30%. Individual stocks retraced 30 to 60%. And now we've been able to make more money shorting the markets, a really nice downturn. And now we're ready to load up on, decent quality companies and hopefully investing in them long term. So it's not that, again, when I say something, it's going to happen. Not at all. I've been wrong many, many times. But the biggest thing that I want you to understand from all of my videos is that I am never here to convince you to do something. If you want to buy MSTR because you think it's the future, I'm not here to change your mind. But I am always here to share with you the risk behind investing in something that is incredibly risky. And that's all, right? I share with you my opinion. I share with you why I have that opinion, and you can take it for what it is. So at the end of the day, I'm very excited to see how the markets continue to develop. And yeah, in the short term, selfishly, I do want markets to sell off more. And it's simply for the sole reason that I want to invest in good quality companies at a cheaper price. So excited to follow up. I'll make sure that I do my part in keeping you guys up to date. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, please do not hesitate to either feel free to comment down below or shoot me a direct message via Instagram, which I believe it's the third link in the description of this live stream. Do not forget, I will be trading live tomorrow and every other day when markets are open. If you ever want to tune on in, feel free to test it out. It's the second link in the description down below, and it literally breaks down to as little as $1.35 per day. Now, I know one thing, trading is not for everyone, but I also know one thing, that investing is something that I believe everyone can learn from. And right now, as markets are incredibly oversold, I think the curiosity of wanting to invest, even if you're watching this video and if you've watched it this far, it's for a reason. I don't care if you buy 1,000 shares or even if you buy a fraction of one share, But I think that if you learn to invest during downturns like this, long term, as long as you do it with a dollar amount in which you can tolerate, as markets recover, you will see the benefits of investing during these downturns. I'm very excited to see how things continue to develop, not because they need to recover right now, but because eventually they always do. So excited to share this progress and journey with you guys. Hope to see you guys for tomorrow's live session. And again, that's the second link in the description down below. I appreciate your time. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. No, I'm not 35. Take care, team.